Beware the Bloody Moon by the Prowler. A group is gathered around the campfire on a dark September night. In the group consist teenage campers and a few of their counselors. They're enjoying a night away from the rest of the camp on an overnight hiking excursion. Now the sun is set, the tents have been erected, and their counselor has gathered them around the fire to tell them a tale they shall never forget. A tale of the dangers that lurk on a night like this, when the moon is red as the color of blood. All right, everyone, quiet down and listen up. I thought I'd finish off the night with a story. A scary story. I'm so scared.
We're so scared, Fred.
Watch out. Hey, pipe down, you animals. This isn't just a scary story. It's a story that could end up saving your life, particularly on a night like this. On a night like what? What's so special about tonight, Fred? Timmy, who was the lead shit-stirrer of the group, sarcastically asked. Look up, genius. It's the night of the bloody moon, Fred answered just as sarcastically as he pointed up towards the night sky. The group was somewhat mesmerized by the moon's blood-soaked color, while a few of the girls in the group hid a slight sense of fear. After a minute or so, Fred guided the group's attention back to himself and the story at hand. It was a night like this very one, about 20 years ago now. The incident happened not too far from this very site. I was a young camper back then, just like all of you, and the group I was with was doing the overnight hike away from the camp, just like we're doing tonight. We were also gathered around the campfire, just like we are right now. Everything was the same, he said ominously, as he looked seriously at the faces around the fire. Little did we know, however, the spot our counselor picked to rest for the night was on the outskirts of someone's private property. The property belonged to a crazed hermit named Walter McGinty. He was known to the locals as having a violent temper, especially when he had been drinking, and this was the subject of the story that night. Our counselor told us the story of crazed Walter McGinty. Supposedly, some years back, he went mad when the moon was blood red, just like tonight, and he murdered his pregnant wife. There are rumors of infidelity, but no one knows for certain. The legend was, whenever the moon was the color of blood, Crazy Walter would head into the night, looking for his next victim. They say for whatever reason, the bloody moon gave him his ravenous, superhuman, bloodthirsty powers and caused him to go mad. Many claim the night he murdered his wife, the moon was blood red as well, and that's why he murdered her. We sat there stunned, listening to the counselor's story of crazy old Walter. Then me and my fellow campers were filled with fear as our counselor told us Walter's house was just past the tree line, sitting on top the hill just behind us. As he finished up the story, he screamed, "If you're not careful, Walter will come after you." Reaching out towards a camper, a girl named Sadie, my friend. Everyone jumped back in fright at first, then started laughing when we realized the counselor was just trying to scare us. When the laughing died down, however, and it became quiet, there was a loud snap from behind us. A jolt jumped up my spine for a moment with fear, but before I could turn around, I saw my counselor's face, sitting across the campfire from me. He looked to be in complete shock. His mouth was outstretched like he wanted to scream. I then heard heavy footsteps coming towards me, branches snapping and leaves crunching as they got closer. I quickly peeked over my shoulder, and as I did, I saw a huge, grotesque man barreling towards us. I rolled to my left out of his path, and as I did, this crazed man swung an axe and buried it into the counselor's skull. Everyone was screaming. There was panic and confusion. I managed to crawl away and hide in a nearby bush. I watched in absolute terror as he massacred my friends, ending with Sadie. I couldn't move. I was so scared. I was literally trembling in fear. I was trying to be silent, but I know I was making that bush shake. I could even hear the leaves rustling from my shaking. I watched old Walter quickly turn his head towards me as he pulled his axe out of Sadie's back. He then moved towards the bush, slowly and menacingly. As he got closer, the scareder I got. I felt out of breath. I was hyperventilating. He stood in front of the bush. He was massive. He was just hovering over me at that point. He then let out a grunt and raised his axe. As he did this, though, I passed out from fright. When I awoke the next morning, I was surrounded by police and the rest of the counselors from camp. I guess they searched for us when we never returned. I watched everyone horrifically murdered that night. I told everyone that would listen what had happened and who had done it, but they never found him. The question I've asked myself all these years is why crazed Walter McGinty let me live that night. And I guess I'll never know why. As Fred finished his story, he sat there in silence. Everyone in the group sat around the campfire in shock and fear. In the silence, a loud snap of a branch came from behind them. A few screamed as they heard this, and everyone looked behind them towards the sound. As they did this, in their distraction, Fred reached into his bag and pulled out a mask and an axe. The mask wasn't an ordinary mask. It was the skin from old Walter's face, who Fred had killed some years prior, and the axe was the same axe that Walter used to kill Fred's friends all those years ago. That horrific night left Fred unrepairably scarred, and he'd been fighting the madness ever since. It's another night of the bloody moon, however, and he can no longer keep his bloodthirsty madness at bay. And when his campers turn back around and see him standing there, wearing Walter's skin as a mask and holding an axe, he begins to murder them one by one, plunging his axe into any torso he comes across. Now completely consumed by madness, he looks at the bodies of his dying campers and says, "Beware the bloody moon, children." Blue Moon, deleted author. I woke up in a field somewhere in the Midwest. The sun was shining right above me without a cloud in sight, so I guessed it must be around noon. I grew up in Fulton, Kansas, so I knew that Midwestern smell. Vastly different from Chicago. Then, that dreadful thought that was growing in the back of my head finally shoved its way to the front. What was I doing here? "Hey," said an eager but kind man's voice as he tapped me on the shoulder. There is that moment when you just exaggerate and use the phrase, "I think I shit my pants." Well, This wasn't an exaggeration. The man was very well dressed, long hair pulled back, but not in the man bun style. But I must admit that he was probably one of the best-looking guys I've seen, though I'm not attracted to men in that way. I was quite jealous of his suit, but I had more important things to worry about now. Who the hell are you? Where did you come from? I would have seen you walking up, since I have a 360-degree view on this grassy hill. The well-dressed man chuckled and leaned in to tell me, there are other ways of getting around than just walking, Mr. Dyer. How do you know my name? Mr. Dyer grabbed the well-dressed man by the suit and pulled him close. I'm not fucking around here. I'll ask you one more time. Where the hell am I? Can you feel the ground rumbling? Oh, I love this part. The tension of you and your kind, and the sweet agony of suffering, which is to come, all in good time. Oh, such a marvelous day. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Dyer? A horrific screech that sounded like a woman came from down below. She was wailing and crying, but in an unhuman sort of way. Who is that? I asked the nameless man. You should know, Mr. Dyer. After all, you did create her years ago in your novel, The Coven's Last Stand. That's not all. Look over here, where the rumbling is coming from. Mr. Dyer, I'm shocked you aren't more excited to meet the creations that had made you millions of dollars on Earth. How do I kill my creations? The nameless man turned and began to walk away. You don't, Mr. Dyer, and they can't kill you. Good luck, he said with another horrible chuckle. The hill was now covered in horrifically grotesque and mutation abominations. This is hell, and this is my eternity. Suddenly, I was shaken awake by my wife, telling me I'm late for work. That dream had been so vivid that I didn't know what to think. I didn't even tell my wife about it, but it was such a relief to be back home in my real world. When the phone rang, I rolled over and answered it. Hello? Mr. Dyer, this is just the beginning. My Moon, My Luna, by peenyweenyboi. Almost every night when I was younger, I would look up at the moon and talk to her. I liked to pretend the moon was my friend, Luna. When I turned 9, she started talking back. I couldn't see her speaking to me, but I always heard her voice. We talked about all of the homework I had and the annoying mean girls in my 3rd grade class, and how I wished they could just leave me alone forever. When they started to disappear, I knew my Luna was helping me. When my brother's mean hamster bit me, I told Luna, and the hamster disappeared too. My brother was so sad, so I asked Luna if she could bring the hamster back. She said she couldn't. As I grew older, Luna and I started talking less and less. She seemed tired, and I felt very bad for her. Now that my parents have gone on to live in a downsized home, I was given the family home. I decided to sell it, as the upkeep would cost much more than I expected, even though it pained me to lose my childhood home. On the night before I moved out, the last of the things from the home, I decided to sleep in my old room, for old time's sake. At about 3 a.m., I heard a loud thumping from upstairs. I rubbed the sleep out of my eyes and groggily walked to the dangling string in the hallway, pulling it to release the steps to the attic. Then I smelled it, the most terrible smell imaginable. I gagged and almost threw up all over the hallway floor, but pulled myself together. If there was a dead animal, I needed to figure it out before someone new moved in. I pinched my nose and scaled the steps, eyes watering as the smell seeped in through the crevices between my fingers and nose. The attic was completely filled to the brim with boxes and clutter. All of it was to be donated or destroyed before the new owners moved in. I sighed as I knew this would only complicate my task of finding the dead raccoon or whatever animal it was. I searched forever for the source of that terrible smell. Then I saw it. A corpse in an extremely bad state of decomposition, with rats chewing on it, laying in a fetal position. I couldn't even scream, I was so shocked. Then I saw the diary, already open to a page. My sweet princess, your home has provided me with shelter, so I vowed to provide you with safety. I have tried everything to make you happy, and I hope I have done well. It is too hard for me to leave the attic anymore, so I can no longer visit you. I hope one day you find this and know how much I loved you. Sincerely, your Luna. P.S. Check under the shed. I thought the nightmare was over, and then I heard her. You finally found me. Moon-flavored ice cream, unknown author. It looked delicious and scary at the same time, a shimmering rainbow which shifted with the light. I asked the old man in the truck what I owed him, and he merely shook his head.
The joy on a young man's face is enough for me, and you can call me Arthur.
A smile spread across the old man's lips, and I tried my best to smile back. I was mildly creeped out, but found the frozen treat far too mesmerizing to focus on anything else. I licked the ice cream cone on the way back inside, marveling at the taste. It was insanely cold, and an explosion of cherry and mint took over my mouth. The taste was oddly addicting, and I caught a hint of another, hidden flavor, almost as if the intense crunchiness of the ice cream and the licks of multicolored stripes across my mind's eye were a flavor. Before I opened the screen door, I stole a look behind me. The moon-themed truck had gone. I started to doubt if it had been there at all, but the sensation of melting ice cream down my hands told me it had. That night, sleep was elusive. I tossed and turned, eventually throwing the covers off in frustration. I was about to get up and use the bathroom when I saw a multicolored tear in the room, and an astronaut's glove emerge from it. I was too scared to scream, limbs shaking, voice barely above a squeak. The glove stretched the tear so much that the rest of the astronaut came through it, looking massive and intimidating in its suit. It lumbered towards me, and I realized I still couldn't scream. Then it took off its helmet, and I immediately recognized Arthur. He approached me, a look of pure evil on his face. A gorilla-sized astronaut's hand grabbed for my arm, and I pulled away. Finally, I was able to scream, and the tear which he came through gobbled him up again. Arthur came to me again the following night, silently emerging through the multicolored tear.
Can we try this again?
What do you want?
Only what is fair. Nothing in this great land is free. I gave you an ice cream cone, and you didn't hand me any money in return. I just want to absorb a young man's view of the moon.
What if I say no?
Well, then I'll murder your entire family. Think of it this way. If I give you an item of value, and you don't pay, I get to name the price. Sound fair?
Arthur's eyes reminded me of black holes, swirling and infinite. Sounds fair, I said, not sure what else to say. I Saw a Man on the Moon by Civil Event Vivo. I've always loved stargazing, ever since my 9th birthday when my father bought me a telescope. I've been fascinated by space. I'd spend hours scanning for UFOs or signs of alien life. By 14, I started keeping a detailed log of my observations. Venus, Mars, comets, anything that caught my eye. Stargazing became my solace, my escape from the world. But last week, I saw a man on the moon. His body glows with an otherworldly white light. His head, devoid of features, wears a crown with 8 arches. He's either grotesquely malnourished or impossibly tall, with a cloak that drapes from his shoulders straight to the ground, defying gravity. I couldn't look away. It had to be a new satellite, I thought, some secret USSR project. The news said nothing, so I called my friend in the city. But before I could pick the phone up, my room filled with a blinding light. The windows turned white. I glanced up at the moon. I went back to my telescope and looked up. He wanted me to know he was watching. Since that night, my life has unraveled. On Monday, a man stood outside my window at 4 a.m., staring. On Tuesday, my car ran out of gas and I had to get it towed. On Wednesday, I was fired for poor performance. On Thursday, 5 men in dark clothing followed me. On Friday, my girlfriend left, saying I was destroying myself. Yesterday, I was evicted. My landlord, clearly ill, claimed I hadn't paid rent. I always pay on time. Always. It's him. The man on the moon. He's behind all of it. He's trying to break me, to stop me from revealing his existence. He's not human. He's an extraterrestrial being bent on controlling the government. I'm staying in an abandoned house at the moment. I'm biding my time until the time is right. I won't let him win. Tomorrow, I'll end this. I have my rifle ready. If I can't kill him, I'll take down his minions. I will stop him. I must. Only I can. He's knocking on the door. He's knocking on the door. He's knocking on the door. We watched the rapture happen from the discomfort of our space station. Unknown author. Our orbiter station arched wide around a dead Earth. Our 3-man crew watched the power grids crawl to darkness, and then we watched as the continents simmered beneath the cloak of the moon. Our communication attempts back to the white sand satellite dish in New Mexico returned only frequency silence and chirps of feedback. We maintained communication with a Chinese manned shuttle, but they went dark some time ago. We now believe they were destroyed by a piece of defunct space garbage looped in the currents of our orbit. We were able to translate only a minute of information, but we all agreed it had helped to ease the dread and isolation we felt, regardless of the fact that they seemed to know just as little as we did. Our science officer, Alan, said the rapture had come. The righteous had been lifted to the heavens, the wicked stolen down to hell by the quick hands of the devil. And I guess in the confusion of it all, God had just forgotten about us. For all of Alan's intelligence, he didn't think to rationalize how much his doomsaying and Bible-toting philosophy would tear down the walls of our sanity. He yelled Bible passages, sobbed his prayers, gurgled out hymns. After all, how could his God forget about him? He had been so just and loyal. His family had surely ascended, so why was he still stuck up here? Our flight engineer, Pat, shattered one day. It happened suddenly, like an exploding wine glass placed in front of a resonating sine wave. In the glowing drag of our residual atmosphere, Pat took a shuttle pen and rammed it into Alan's windpipe. They wrestled in the lack of gravity, blood ribboning out the gaping hole in Alan's neck that reminded me of a cancer victim's stoma. I made an executive decision to push them both out of the airlock. And because it was my decision, I watched them swim, suffocating in the black of space, in their deathly embrace, with my own sorrowful eyes. My orbiter conducts a full orbital rotation around the Earth about 15 times a day, and on occasion, we were able to pick up stray signals for very short periods of time during certain perfect alignments. Today, after months of soundlessness and isolation, I at last received a stray communication from an Earth-bound research station in the eastern United States. "We've been trying to reach you for months now. Do not make any attempts to come back down. We haven't gone missing. We've gone dark. The lights attract them, the noise even more so. We're scurrying to our deaths like cockroaches under the fridge. You are the only one safe. Up there." The day the moon disappeared. Deleted author. The moon disappeared. Suddenly, it's just gone. One night, people were enjoying a blood moon, and the sky just suddenly went dark, and people didn't seem to notice at first. But as more people were informed, panic broke out. Everyone began screaming. Some thought it was the end of days. Lifelong atheists even began to pray and repent their sins. At first, it was only the tides that went. Then, the night got progressively longer. No one seemed to mind these changes, and life resumed its standard pace. Then, the seasons changed. Spring got hotter, and winter got colder, like way colder. Then human behavior started to change. People began to act odd. They would shake their heads as if trying to get rid of something, and their body began to intensely convulse. Slurry fluid began to slowly stream out of their bodily orifices. Soon enough, They weren't recognizable as humans. The creatures, who were thought to come from the moon and blend in with the humans, began ravaging our cities, slaughtering our children, and conquered humanity in only a few days. Their skin was bulletproof, their eyesight trained and luminous in the night, their muscles strong and masculine. They were built like super soldiers, and we were only their toys. Tanks couldn't kill them. Nuclear weapons couldn't kill them. Even the strongest of bullets would not penetrate their skin. So, humanity did what we do best. We hid underground and allowed the superior race to live above. A few months ago, the military secretly sent out a drone onto the surface, and we were shocked to see images of Earth's surface. The Earth's surface turned gray. There were no trees. There were only gray craters and gray dust, much like the surface of the moon. It seemed as if our own planet was being transformed. I don't know what their intention of claiming Earth is, but considering the creatures, which originated from the gray sphere in the sky, I guess it's a good thing the moon disappeared. A message from Jupiter's moon, deleted author. Growing up, we would hear stories of an abandoned world, one that we left behind in an attempt to further our explorations of oblivion. But it was the world that had abandoned us. Since the discovery of classified evidence, our history has changed. What was erased from the tales of existence pre-colonization was that during the 1970s, the Earth was declared to become uninhabitable because of political tensions. There was a great creation that began a genocide to exterminate the human race. The planet's immune system began expunging its parasitic residents and forcing them to cross the breach, separating them from the void. Originally, we were never told of a planet that was consumed with poisonous gases. It wasn't that mankind carried their quest knowledge into the stars, but rather they had been forced to leave or be obliterated. Today we know who you are and that you are in danger. We are warned that our existence is so different of those that had not been cautious. There is speculation that the inhabitants of Earth are no longer human, and rather something primitive and malicious. This is evident in previous transmissions, but I have been led to believe otherwise. I am an engineer of sorts. My specializations include interaction with galactic beings and foreign uncharted extraterrestrial. In my world, there are only explorers, no conquerors. The superiors urge exploration and peaceful colonization because they know that only the cautious survived the fumes and established a new world based on the preservation of pre-existing life and coexistence. These values are held to the utmost esteem. I am saying this now because we received a new transmission from Earth. You may need our help. There are no wars or violence where we exist. We can save you all. You never knew of us, but few have learned of our existence through programming interaction with our superiors. Do not be scared. We are so much alike. I have learned that populations of humans were so vast that a system of secondary titles were created. This technique is still used today in Europa, without kindred genetics, but rather based upon generation grouping. There exist 3 generations: Adam 1969, Eve '01, and Cain '02. We have begun to refer to those who stayed on Earth as Abel '02. Each generation excels further and further with every orbit. We have music where we exist. There, in the stars, exists poetry and literature. There is love and harmony with the creatures that were here before us. We are the alien. This is the name for us, who was born in the boundaries of the new world. Further messages will inform you of methods of our return. I am Andromeda, Cain '02. The Man on the Moon. I see the man on the moon. He is screaming. Why is he screaming? Because of what's above us. I would like to give a heartfelt thank you to the special friends of the channel for your overwhelming generosity. If you would like to support the channel, the link is below in the description. Also, please send me your stories and poems to duchessofdarkness27@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram at duchess.ofdarkness and Twitter at duchessofdarkn2. I want to thank all my listeners for your kindness, your encouragement, and your support. It means the world to me. Thank you for joining me. Until next time.